I'm reading the article of body ritual among Necromania. I realized that Minor was the type of person who would go to extreme lengths to study complex behaviors of humans across the world and across different cultures. At first, the reading is difficult to determine if the article is based in facts or fiction. Miner's goal in this journal is to get the reader to view Necromy culture as something that is foreign and weird. However, upon closer examination of the papers, one realizes that Miner is not examining ancient Native American culture, but instead examining modern Americans doing mundane tasks such as using the restroom, describing describing how people handle their oral health and other rather typical self-care acts such as visiting the dentist. Moreover, Miner goes on to describe the act of going to the hospital and how it is not only a place for elderly people to get medical problems fixed, but also young people. He then also goes on to describe a therapist's job, albeit with a humorous twist. The last thing the author describes in Necromania culture is how these people reproduce. Part 2. In American culture, the people are very direct when speaking to one another. This is part of my culture. For example, when an individual is meeting someone for the first time in a professional or business setting, they will oftentimes shake hands and make eye contact and express how it is nice to meet one another and welcome them. However, niceties will often end there, as Americans will soon be discussing the reason they have met up. This is different from asking about family or social life matters, or even getting some food before talking about business or professional matters. This is how it differs from other cultures. The method of communication This method of communication can be effective when both parties have the same goals, be it professional or business. However, American style of communication can overlook small details when one party is not being open or direct about their goals. Americans tend to be more direct than others in their communication because of cultural background. America was formed on the idea that everyone is deserving of living a free life, the idea that everyone is equal and has a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This ties into the very strong American ideal that everyone has the right to free speech. Therefore, they are not often worried about how they speak to one another. This is unlike other countries where you may not be able to speak openly about issues such as your government, leadership, or anything in their professional or work lives. So Americans are not often burdened with this fear and do not waste time getting to the point in their conversations. Other cultures may be more worried about offending one another. This may also be because the right to free speech in their countries are more limited. This is why some cultures may not only dislike directness, but will also consider it offensive. This value of directness is recognized around the world as distinctly American, for better or for worse. Part 3. While the style that Americans use to communicate has not changed much, what has changed is the way the Americans communicate. This has been through the use of smartphones and the internet in general. The ways communication patterns have shifted has been generational, with older generations valuing face-to-face communication and younger generations value handling their communication through online means, such as electronic mail, text message, or phone call. This can be seen as communication decline within the culture because older generations who prefer face-to-face interactions may consider indirect communication via email or text not may not be considered as respectful to older members of the generations in America. However, context is important when dealing with different forms of communication because Americans value how a message is delivered depending on the importance of the message. The message carries important information such as letting someone know a loved one has passed or one wishes to in-day relationship. Face-to-face communication is not only considered culturally appropriate, but direct. It is culturally appropriate and direct regardless of age. However, less important information such as letting someone know they need to grab something from the store, or letting multiple people know the location of a meeting for work in a short and direct message does not matter if it's delivered electronically, through paper, or any other means. This is considered culturally appropriate and respectful of each other's time. Part 4. Has these changes been helpful or hurtful to America? I believe that as a culture, America still values direct communication regardless of the situation or the means the message is delivered. It does not matter that the communication is face to face, phone call, or through email. The tradition of being direct is still alive and well in the American culture. For example, if someone has sensitive information for another person, delivering the message in face to face is considered the only acceptable method for delivering these messages. Where America's culture of internet communication is considered a positive trend, the area where this communication can be more direct is between American generations. Not surprisingly, older Americans can have some trouble with dealing with their younger counterparts in the workplace. Where this is detrimental is for employers. The cost of employees' mistakes due to communication errors can cost up to $62.4 million each year, depending on the company. This is according to an article coming out of Notre Dame of Maryland University. The primary technique communicated to reduce this cost can come down to simply understanding the needs of each individual that members of this culture has. This can be easy to understand because each American values their individualism and freedom. Therefore, each American having communication preferences is understood and considered culturally appropriate. The sources I used for this video is the Notre Dame of Maryland University in Minor H, Body Ritual, and then among them Necromania. Thank you for your time.